Arel Moodie. Hello, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the Speakers Lounge.
I'm chilling in the lounge. I
You are
can't wait to I
we are
can't wait to get
chilling.
into it.
We are chilling. We got our bevy of choice. So I'm excited to have you here. So the Speakers Lounge, for people who have not been here before, hello, welcome. You can interact with us throughout this 30 to 40 minutes, however long. How much time do you have, RL? I didn't ask you that at the very beginning.
We're here for the people. So
We are
we're
here
until we get kicked out.
until we get kicked out. We are
Yeah.
here. So feel free to drop your comments there in the comment section. But we're here every first Monday of the month at 12 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm bringing new insights from visionary leaders like RL. So RL is pretty amazing because I have a tool that I would imagine, and I'm going to let him speak to this, probably decided to design because he saw a pain point that needed to be solved. And so this tool is called Talkadot. And RL, I'm going to let you tell that story if you don't mind to get us started.
Yeah, so the story of Talkadot, I've been a professional speaker now for 18 years. And 3 years ago, when myself and my co-founders decided to tackle this problem, it was a really, really specific pain point, which was, well, how do you know if someone is good as a speaker? Like, how do you know if you should book them, right?
Mhm.
And how do you make that process simpler and easier? And the reality is, in speaking, it's a lot of guessing. It's a lot of event organizers who either know someone who knows you or has seen you speak themselves, or maybe their gut tells them this is good. But the reality is, a lot of other industries have, like Yelp or Trustpilot or G2. There's these places where you can get third party verified feedback, so you can, as a decision maker, have that. It didn't exist in the event planning world, and my co-founders and I said, well, what if we tried to solve that? And it was part of a larger, bigger plan. So our first step was, how do we start getting feedback? How do we start actually getting quantitative, qualitative data on how effective are individual speakers? And then how do we leverage that data to help event planners more easily and more quickly book speakers? Because what a lot of speakers don't realize is, event organizers, it could take them 6 months just to select the speaker. It's a very lengthy, long process. And we were like, well, what if we can take that data and then leverage it? So now event planners can more quickly book speakers, and speakers who may not have been discovered before can more easily be discovered, and they're being matched through data. So it's a big watermelon to eat, but the same way you eat anything, it's one bite at a time.
Well, it's a phenomenal tool. And what I would like to do here is I want to just show people what you have built. And this is just a small portion of what you've built here. But I'm going to go ahead here with my savvy tech skills and share my screen here. And what you see is this is Talkadot. So this is my profile. And so why don't you talk us through this a little bit, just so that our audience can understand what they're looking at.
Absolutely. So what the Talkadot profile does, it gives everything, and we've done an extensive amount of interviews with event planners. It gives them everything that they need to make a decision in one place. So it starts with photos and videos. The first thing that you see on a page is vibe check. What's the vibe? What's Meredith's? How does she show up? Is she serious? Is she fun? So they can watch a small clip for a few seconds. And then right under that is data. Now, what Meredith does is she uses our tool at the end of her speaking engagements, ask her audience for feedback. And then out of the 467 people that have most recently given her feedback, each one of those speaking engagements goes into an individual report. But the data you're seeing here is all of that data in one place. So how many people found her talks valuable? How many people want to see her again? What is her in-person versus virtual? So that data point right there automatically gets updated on this profile every single time you use the feedback version of Talkadot. Then it goes to where you're from, and then we have our audience members right there, where it says audience members say. If you scroll up a little bit,
Oh, there
what,
we go.
yeah, what that is right there is, we take all of the feedback, all 467 of those testimonials that you received on that feedback form at the end of your talks, and we use AI to summarize what our audience is saying about you. This is really powerful for a lot of reasons. Number one, it allows event planners to know what audiences say about you, not what your sales copy says about you. Not what do I think you should know, but what actually do audience members take away, which is highly valued. But also for a speaker, sometimes it's hard to talk about ourselves. Sometimes we don't know, like, what am I actually doing? So this audience member says section allows you to really keep your finger on the pulse of how do people perceive you and what is landing, and then what are your key outcomes as well. And then we have quantitative data. We've got your bio, which you're allowed to add yourself. If you keep scrolling down, this is where you can put your talks. One of the biggest trends that we're seeing is that when event organizers want to book a speaker, they want to see full length video. So that first vibe check is just, do I like the vibe? Do you match the presence, the kind of experience we want? Then once you get down to their short list of 3 to 5 speakers, the next thing they want to do is actually see you do your thing. Like, I want to see a clip of the movie. I don't want to just see the trailer. I want to see a clip of what's about to come. And it helps these folks make decisions. So we allow people to put their talks and videos associated to that talks, which makes it much easier for event planners. If you scroll down a little bit more, we then take the testimonials that you get at the end of your talk, and we automatically pull out your testimonials and put them on this page for you. So you don't have to dig through and find what are people saying about me. We automatically pull this from every single time you give a talk. We pull those and put those up here. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, these are your past talks. So what's so cool about this is that a lot of organizers want to go, well, will you do good with people like me? And the best way for me to know if you do good with people like me is if you've done presentations for people like me.
Yeah.
So these are all of the reports, and if you just click on one of those, maybe that most recent one that is on your report there. So if you click on that, you'll actually see an example of what an individual report looks like. So I mentioned at the end of her talk, she puts up her QR code, the audience scans it, gives feedback. This is the report that automatically gets created. We do a summary of each report right there. We have quantitative data. If you scroll down a little bit more, we have the qualitative data, and you can turn all of these into shareable images and you can post these. So it's a really valuable way for a speaker to quantitatively and qualitatively show actually their impact. And then we put it all together and make it easy for event planners to get the information they need to ideally book you to speak.
It is absolutely a brilliant tool. And I will say too, what's really wonderful, and thank you for going through that. I'm a big fan of the show, not just tell people about things. So what I really like about it too is that you can send that report to the organizer of that event afterwards to just say, hey, hi, it's me again. Look at your audience really loved what we did. And especially when you're working for companies like I work with AWS, they love their data. So if I can send them something that is more tangible like that, it's a huge win for me too.
Well, that's a big separator, and a big trend that's happening right now is data. If you look at what's happening with AI, with database decisions, evidence-based decisions, a lot of speakers are like, "Well, just trust me, baby. I know I'm good.
Look at me, I'm fun."
You know I'm gonna do a good." And event organizers are like, "Yeah." And the analogy I like to give to people is, imagine somebody wanted to watch your children and you were going away overnight. Would you just give your kids to anyone? If you had a pet and you needed to leave town and you needed someone to pet sit, would you just take anyone's word for it that they'll take care of your most precious pet or child? No, if they're not a trusted source, you need to vet them and make sure that they've got the data, and that data is actually what proves. And the great thing for a speaker is all they have to do is create an account at the end of their talk, say, hey, scan this QR code, let me know what you thought. If you'd like to give away a bonus, which we recommend because it increases your response rate, so like a PDF, copy your slides, say, hey, scan this QR code and I'll give you a copy of my slide deck. Thank you so much. That's all the speaker has to do. And then all the data, all the testimonials, all the reports, all of it just automatically shows up. And it's easy for the speaker to use, and it's easy for the event planners to make decisions. So our goal is to try to do all the complicated, as you say, with your work, you take complicated stuff and make it very simple.
Yeah.
We try to make this complicated process simple for everyone involved.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So we're going to transition a little bit, if that's okay with you,
Please.
because I wanted to give the opportunity, drop a nugget of wisdom from you about the QR code at the very end when we're collecting the data. So I have heard from people, in the past where they struggle, right? Because they have their own personal call to action that they're asking the audience to do. And then there's the QR code. So what happens is, and I'm guilty of it too, but I have finessed it over time,
Mm-hmm.
which is people rush through it. They're like, okay, and now I want your information. Here's the QR code and bye. And so they're not actually getting as many responses as they could. So is there some special sauce that you can share with us that would help the listeners right now really
Yeah,
leverage it?
there's two basic philosophies for using Talkadot, and it depends on what's most important to you. Every speaker is going to be a little bit different, so I always like to tell speakers there's not one way to do this because every speaker has a unique closing, call to action, and so forth. If there's maximum response and there's ease of use, those are two different. You have to decide: do I care more about responses or do I care more about ease? So let me go the maximum and then ease. So the maximum response is, hey, what did you think about this? Was this valuable? Oh, you did. I'd love to know what you think because this allows me to get better. So scan the QR code, take 2 minutes to fill it out. And again, on average, it takes 2 minutes to go from start to finish. And when you're done, look up. Let me know you're done by looking up and putting your phone down. And I'll leave you with one final thought. And then you actually hold the space for 2 minutes. I usually go over to the lectern and take some notes, or I walk down to my host and say, hey, everyone's giving me feedback. When they're done, I'm going to send you a report. Anything you need from me, I'm going to wrap up in about 5 minutes. The host goes, no, everything's great. I walk back on stage. Everyone's pretty much finished. And then I launch in my closing. So creating 2 minutes of intentional space for people to actually fill it out right then and there will get you about up to 80% of every audience, like clockwork, actually giving you feedback. Now, for some people, the thought of saying, I'm going to ask people to give me feedback and I have to stand on stage, it scares the heck out of them. It just scares people, and they're like, no, I can't. They think that the audience is going to hate them or the client's going to hate them, and time and time and time and time again, it's not true. But there's this fear that it's like when someone goes on a roller coaster, they go, it's the roller coaster is going to break when I'm on it. I'm like, the
Right.
roller coaster is not going to break. Like they're like, no, the moment I go on it, it's going to break, right? So if you are one of those people that think the roller coaster will break, then you can do what's the ease of transition, which is at the very, very end, just say, scan the QR code. Let me get your feedback. If you want to stay in touch with me, you put your QR code on your contact slide or as your contact slide.
Mhm.
Ask your audience to scan it. And once they scan it, toodaloos, and you walk off stage. So like every speaker has a contact slide that's got like my stay in touch slide. So if you
Mhm.
just add our QR code to your stay in touch slide, give one quick scan this to be able to give me feedback and get access to the copy of my slide deck or to the spreadsheet that I talked about in my presentation, whatever is of value. As long as that thing is of high enough value to the audience that they will want it, they will scan the QR code and do it. So that's the easiest way to do it, because then you don't have to really hold the space. But holding the space will get up to 80% of an audience. And then you get more leads, because we also get booking leads for people so they can follow up with their leads. You get more data, and it's a bigger win. But you got to do what's best for you as a speaker.
Yeah, okay, that's really helpful. Both of those are incredibly helpful. I'm also curious too about the virtual space. What's the most effective in that virtual space? Because holding 2 minutes is very different than holding 2 minutes on stage. At least I have experienced that. And then the other piece is, if you're a presenter, let's say it's more of a workshop, or you've chosen not to use slides as your visual, how might you go about using Talkadot to also get some feedback?
Yeah, so in the virtual space, we create a URL for every single slide, right? So every can I share my screen on this?
I think so.
I
I
think
think down at the
let's
yeah,
find out.
let's find out.
We're gonna try it out. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see if I totally
Oh, look at this. I think
can
you
you see my
can.
can you
Yeah,
see?
there you are. Boom.
Okay, so this is what the slide looks like, right?
Uh-huh.
So each one of these QR codes is connected to a specific URL that you can get. Now, what we recommend everyone doing is, in a virtual presentation, copying the URL for that particular code, putting it into the chat in addition to showing the slide virtually. The reason that we recommend doing that is because some people are watching your virtual presentation on their phone, right? So they can't scan a QR code from their phone on their phone. But if you put the link with the HTTP, it becomes a hyperlink in the chat. So you just tell people, if you can scan the QR code, scan it. If not, click on the link in the chat. Fill it out. Take about 2 minutes or so to fill it out. And then when you're done filling it out, write the word done in the chat so I know you're finished. And I'll leave you with one more thought. Now, what I like to do on virtual is I embed like a coffee shop music, like a little background music or something. And
Yeah.
then I start the 2 minutes and let that music play. And then when people start writing done, I start liking the comments and go like, thank you. All right. And then once you start seeing it go, and it always goes like this virtual, done, done, and then it goes done, 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 done. And once you start seeing it coming in really, really fast,
Yeah.
you know pretty much everyone's done. So then you say, great, we'll take about 30 more seconds. Go ahead and finish up, and I'll leave you with a final thought. You wait about 30 seconds, and then you launch into your closing. So adding the music and adding the link and adding the type the word done so I know you're finished will make the virtual experience very seamless and very easy.
Beautiful.
And to answer your other question of what if I'm
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah,
using
yeah.
slides, right? In addition, like there's a link, right? So just to I'll call back out to the link here. So everybody has a unique link, which is talk.ac slash whatever your name is. Mine's Arel, right? So it could be talk.ac slash Meredith. So you kind of sound like an old school radio ad. You say, all right, everyone, I want you to take out your phones. Everyone take your phones out. I want you to open up your browser, go to Google Chrome or Safari, whatever you use to go on the internet. And I want you to type in talk.ac slash Arel. So go to talk.ac slash Arel. And when you get prompted, put in the code bonus or ADT or whatever is the code that gives away the particular bonus that you're giving away, and say, just open it up, put that in there, take about 2 minutes to finish up, and we'll be good. Now, what you'll find is if you do that call to action, you just got to be very specific. Take out your phone, open up, because if you just say, go to talk.ac slash RL, people will be like, what? What?
What? Where?
So
How?
yeah, you repeat
Yeah.
it 3 times. What other people do if they're more prepared is they actually print out the QR code either on their if they're doing a workshop with documents, they'll put the QR code in the upper right-hand corner or on the back page, or they'll do a drop card where they actually like print it on a piece of paper and drop it and then say, "Hey everyone, there's a piece of paper, just take out your phones and scan that."
Mhm.
So it really depends on, do you have paperwork that you give people like worksheets? Then you could just add our QR code to the last sheet or the top. Do you want to print stuff out if it's appropriate to do so? Or you just do the radio, like when you're driving, they always repeat it 3 times and they're very specific with the call to action. So you can do that and it works just fine. I've done that in a room full of like 1,500 people and I got 800 people to fill out my survey with no slides. So it works. You just, the first time you do it, I promise you, you're going to think it's not gonna. And
Yeah.
then you realize, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Okay. No, these are really great, great suggestions for people. And I'm also just going to highlight that these are just great best practices, period, regardless if you're using Talkadot or not. Just to like the repetition piece, I think is really important. Being able to take time and space on stage and or in the virtual space.
Yeah.
Using and utilizing the chat is really incredible. And I really like what you just said about putting it on, like if you have documents or handouts, to put the QR code on there as well, and then or table tents or however you want to do it to get people to scan. So
That's right.
that's all awesome, all gold. So thank you for that, because I
Yeah.
know, I sit in all these different circles, like Innovation Women, for example, is one of them, and we'll bring up these questions like, how do you also sell from, like, you can't sell from the stage because just like, it's not fun to sell from the stage, nor do people like it when you sell from the stage.
Yep.
So what I have found is that Talkadot is a really beautiful way to say, I'm getting feedback, and yet you're also giving them a way to contact you if you have inspired them to do so. So you don't really have to sell anything from the stage except for.
And that what you're saying is a really important detail that I
Mhm.
love to make sure people get, is that the way our tool was built is very specific, that if someone is interested in actually booking you,
Yep.
we actually can ask them questions to book them, but those questions never get asked to someone who's not interested. We have something called branch logic, which basically means if someone indicates in a previous question that they can book you, we take them down a different path. If they indicate they're not interested in either, buying your course, buying your services, booking you to speak, you can decide what is that path you want folks to take. So what happens is everyone in the audience is giving you feedback, but just for the people who want to book you to speak, we actually identify them and then put them into a simple list for you. So what's great about that is that if you don't like the idea of transitioning from trusted expert to salesperson, our tool will pull out the leads for you. And now on the back end, you can do your follow-up process, you can schedule your calls, you can reach out to people, and everyone who's interested can raise their hand and do so, and everyone who's not interested doesn't get annoyed. So you never worry about ruining your reputation, but you're also building your business and you're also getting feedback. So it really is a win-win for all parties involved: audience, event planner, and speaker.
It's brilliant. It is brilliant. So, and also what I like is you have an automation that's built in. Is if people choose to take the path, like they say, yeah, we want to book you for a speaking event, or we're interested in a workshop. You also have an automated email that goes out, which is also brilliant. So you're taking a lot of that back end work and the constant nagging, right? Because when you're a speaker, like there's a constant, like I wouldn't call it nagging, but it can be the
Yeah.
following up and the constant, like, I don't know, are they going to respond to me, are they not going to respond to me? You've taken a lot of that out of an individual speaker's process, so it's such a brilliant platform. So thank you for having this idea to create it.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. The main goal is that, imagine if you speak at the end of your speaking engagement, you put up a QR code, ask people for feedback. You've got data, you've got testimonials, you've got leads. You know exactly how people want to work with you. And you're building a profile that builds your digital footprint that allows people to find you and book you. So it really is, the only reason somebody wouldn't do it is because they're like, I like doing things the hard way. And it's like, yeah, like,
So
you
true.
know,
And go
there's a
for it.
lot of speakers. Trust me, I found a lot of speakers who are like, I'd rather, do it the hard way and do it my way versus use a tool. And I always go like, okay, like, have at it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a learning curve, right? Like but I'm also going to say, for those of you who might be the person who change is hard, or you feel like the technology might be difficult, what I would say that is helpful is RL has a lot of videos, I believe, that you've posted on YouTube. You have a lot of tutorials that are very easy to understand and step by step. So I would say invest in watching those videos if you're on the fence, so that you can understand better how the tool is used and how user friendly it actually is.
Yeah, if you like to do things on your own, like we have lots of videos that you can just go on, show you how to do everything you need. Also, if you're someone who's like, no, I like someone to walk me through it every single week, one of the members of my team jumps online and walks users through how you create your account, how you use your account, how you do it. So if you need that extra help, we do that every single week. And then every month I jump on a Ask Me Anything, where you can ask me anything about the tool. I want to do this, I don't know how to do this. So even though the tool exists and it should be self-serve, you're never have to do it yourself. There's always
Good.
a someone or something there to help support you.
Awesome. Well, I highly encourage people to use it. Now, I want to ask you a question. First of all, I want to direct people. This is the Talkadot QR code. It will lead you to Talkadot. So if you are at all interested in it, please go scan that QR code and sign up now, because it's an incredible tool. You need it. Stop wasting time. Okay, so there's that QR code. So RL, I'm going to ask you this question for our newbies. Okay, so maybe
Yep.
we have some people that are just starting off. They're like, yeah, this is great, but I've only really done one speaking event. I know I want to start getting more speaking engagements.
Yeah.
How might they leverage this tool so that they can get on more, use it for social media perhaps,
Mhm.
or use it to leverage themselves as a speaker? Can you speak into that a little bit?
Yeah, so the single most important thing anyone can do to start getting started in speaking is to understand that, I believe, in my opinion, the best place to start is with associations. Every single client base, every single group of people that you can work with probably is a dues paying member of some association, right? They're a human resource person, so they're part of SHRM, or they're a association executive, so they're part of ASAE, right? Like every single group, if you just type in their name plus the word association, there's an association for them. And I've been in this industry for almost 20 years, and I'm still blown away with how many different kinds of associations there are. Now, the single biggest deliverable of any association is their annual conference. And many of them have learning sessions throughout the year in addition to it. Their annual conference is their big event where they have a bunch of speakers. And then their learning is where they do webinars and maybe smaller events throughout the year. Those are the best places to get started, because if you have a message that can help, say, like I just spoke to a bunch of CPAs,
Mhm.
right? So they're part of the Washington Society of CPAs, Certified Public Accountants. So all of the certified public accountants that are in Washington, many of them are members of this association. So I spoke there, and now I'm speaking in front of the KPMGs and the Deloittes and the big companies, right? And also smaller mid-sized companies as well. But then those folks can see me speak. And then how do you get those speaking engagements? They typically have an RFP, which is called a request for presenter. So you can fill that out. Typically, sometimes you don't get paid for them, sometimes you do. Depends on like where you are. If you're really early, the odds are the associations will not pay you to speak because you're going to do a breakout session or a workshop. But that doesn't matter because the people in the room are the people who can go, oh my gosh, this was amazing. So you use Talkadot at those events,
Mhm.
you get feedback, and then you leverage that feedback as a data point to reach out to another conference once you get the first one to say, hey, I spoken at this event. I'd love to speak at yours. And then you get two. And then you get two reports, and then you get one profile that you can send that starts getting more and more data. So I'm a big believer in this idea of like momentum and creating a flywheel. So you start with associations with requests for presenters. You do a bunch because in the beginning, most people will say no because you don't have a footprint yet, a digital footprint. But then start using Talkadot and you start getting testimonials and data. And then the people in the room are the people who have the ability to potentially book you for the future. So that's a really straightforward way to start booking business. And Talkadot will help you leverage each one you give to hopefully get more.
Brilliant. Thank you. So that was definitely some wisdom that you just dropped there. So for those of you who are just starting off, uh, start with associations. I love it. And just do a Google search or do some chat GPT, find a prompt.
Yeah,
Or-
whoever your ideal customer profile is, just type in that plus the word associations, and you'll be surprised at how many events there are. And right there on their website, they go, "This is our conference. This is our date. Here's who you get in touch with if you're interested in speaking." So if you don't know it exists, it's like mysterious, but if you know it exists, it's pretty straightforward. And to be honest with you, it's what I've been doing every single year. I think
Yeah.
beginning speakers should do that, but I do about 4 or 5 free events per year, just to be able to get the ball rolling and keep it moving in mind. It's my number one way of client acquisition and new customer acquisition, and it's easy. I mean, I don't want to say it's simple. It's not easy. You've got to like have the courage to reach out. You've got to deal with rejection. So that's not easy, but it is simple as long as your message. And that's why working with someone like you is so important, because if someone doesn't have a clear message, if someone doesn't know how to deliver it well, you don't have a good presentation, all the software in the world is not going to save you
Yeah.
from, the fundamentals. You got to have your fundamentals like really good.
Right. So thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm curious, just for also the people who are watching or listening right now, tell me, how did you get started? Because I know that it was probably quite like a journey. And I know that there's some people who will, I would imagine, get impatient pretty quickly with their speaking career.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, like when did you start to find your stride? How did you get into speaking? And is there wisdom
Yeah.
that you can share with people on that
I
journey?
got in through the student market. I was really young when I started speaking. I was 22 years old. And I had seen a speaker come to my college who was just amazing. And I just felt lit up by him. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what that guy's doing. I want to do that. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, hey man, one day I want to do, like, in 20 years, I'm going to do this. So I thought like I would be starting right now. And he said, well, tell me about yourself. And, I had grew up in the projects on welfare. I had gotten into college. I was on the dean's list. I was president of 4 student organizations. I started a business when I was in college, which was an off-campus housing resource for students. And he's like, dude, you've got an incredible story that can help students get into college and have a better student experience. Why don't you just tell people about, like how you did that? So that was my like impetus. And I was like, oh my gosh, but I didn't know how to do anything. And then I started speaking with this group that doesn't exist anymore called Making It Count. And Making It Count was an organization that just allows you to speak to high school students. And I was doing their messaging at first and just building my confidence and building my skills. And I was like, wait a minute, like I should do what that guy told me and like share my story, because I think I have a pretty decent go at it.
Yeah.
So my unlock was when I discovered associations. I discovered APCA, APCA, and NODA, NODA, which was APCA is the Association for Promotion of Campus Activities. NODA is it changed, but it was basically the National Orientation Directors
Mhm.
Association. And once I discovered that and I started speaking to students at leadership events and orientation, That's when the ball started moving, and it eventually led into the presentations that I do now, which are mostly in the business and corporate space and association space.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Any other like wisdom? And so this is RL if you want to reach out to him as a speaker.
Oh,
So
look
he's
at
got
that.
Talkadot, but if you
Yeah,
want to reach out to him as a speaker, here's that
please.
QR code as well.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, like what is the biggest mistake you see speakers making these days?
Oh, no one talks about this. This is the biggest mistake.
Mhm.
Speakers solve individual problems with their speaking and not organizational problems. And what I mean by that is companies who book speakers, they book someone to solve an organization problem. A lot of speakers are speaking on individual problems and wondering why they're not getting booked by organizations. So, for example, if I'm a speaker that shows divorced women how to reclaim their power, and I'm like, "Hey,
Oh,
I want someone to." Oh, are you still there?
I'm here.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me? I
Yeah.
don't know. My camera just decided that it
Oh, okay.
wanted
I
to
didn't know. I was
use
like,
over.
"Oh, did I press a button accidentally?"
No, you
All right.
didn't. We're
So
just gonna improvise
we're gonna
here.
improvise. No, so
I don't
I'll
know what's going
continue.
on. My computer is now
All
having a
good.
going haywire. You
I can
continue
hear you.
talking because it's really just about you anyway.
Hey, I got your back, right?
Okay.
So what happens is, like, if I'm someone who says I teach divorced women how to reclaim their power after divorce. So that's a very important, very great message, and you can have a lot of great strategies. But that's an individual's problem. There's no company or organization that says, how do we get all the women in our organization and in our company to like reclaim their power after divorce? Like that's not an organizational problem. So what happens is speakers present their individual solution to
Mhm.
companies, and the companies go, well, that's not for us, we're not interested. And they're like, well, this people need this is important, why don't they see the value in it? Because the reality is organizations, companies, associations, schools, whatever it might be, they need organizational problem solved. So you need to understand, well, what's the bigger problem? So like when someone brings you in to say, hey, we have these incredible engineers but they don't know how to clarify their message, well, I you can work with them and show them how to clarify so that reports, there's ease of transition of ideas, the next, quarter's KPIs are more easily explained, right?
Mhm.
So if you can actually review what you are presenting and ask yourself, is this a company or an organization problem, or is this an individual's problem? If it's an individual problem, you will find it harder and harder to get booked and to get paid. But the bigger and more painful organization problems you solve, the more and more you'll find it's easier to get paid, and the more you'll get paid as well.
That's all brilliant. And I apologize for our tech
Well, good.
issues.
We're just gonna look at me, and we gonna
I
listen to
mean,
you and look
everyone
at
just
me,
look at RL. It's about you anyway. And this
not the
is
audience. Yeah.
this. Oh my good. I mean, it's about the audience. It's about you giving. But yes. And this I think is always. I love it when life happens because I'm always telling my clients like when you have a technical issue, like what do you do about it? You cannot stop and like stop the conversation. You got to keep moving forward.
Listen, if anyone's gonna get upset because things don't work out the way they're supposed to, life is gonna be very upsetting for you.
It is gonna be very upsetting. It's not gonna be very fun, is it? So yeah, my camera is not working at all. And so
Oh,
I
good.
don't recommend the Opal, just FYI, moving forward. Sorry, Opal. I'm reaching out to you after this call. But RL, I really appreciate what you just said because I do feel that we get a little bit like linear with our thinking and we don't think about the bigger picture of the organization. So I love that that distinction between the individual versus the organization. And if people are not getting booked, maybe they need to look at their messaging.
Big time. And if you actually, as a speaker, if you can first, there's a couple of litmus tests that you need to like ask yourself. So number one is this an organizational or an individual problem that I'm solving? Okay, if it is an organizational problem, who are the people within the organization that want that problem solved? Is it a C-suite problem? Is it a frontline staff
Mhm.
problem? Is it a mid-level manager problem? Is it a leadership problem? Is it a team problem? So understanding what kind of problem it is and how it shows up is super, super important. And then where do these people congregate? Do people, like if it's a leadership problem, like the biggest space is motivation and leadership and speaking.
Mhm.
It's for a reason. So if you can solve a leadership problem or a motivation problem, great. But how does that leadership problem, what does that look like? Is it that you better understand your people? Is it that you build a better culture? is that you understand change. So if you can understand who has it and how they have it, and then this is something I'm working on, which is a little bit new, and this can definitely be stress tested and broken. But you'll find that the people who get to the highest tier typically own a word, right? They
Mhm.
own super fans, they own generations, they own
Mhm.
change, they own belonging, they own vulnerability. If you They own referrals. If you can actually create a word that you can own, that when someone thinks about that word or that problem, they think of you, that's a
Mhm.
really, 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 really good place to be. Where if you try to own a word like leadership, it's like, well, that's a hard word to own. But if you want to own a word like, there's a woman named Cy Wakeman, she owns reality based leadership. Well,
Uh-huh.
she created her own lane and she has her own take on leadership. So that's why she's so successful and so popular. So it's really important to understand individual, organizational, what problem, where does that problem get solved, where does it fit in, where do those people congregate who have that problem, what group are they a part of, and then, can I own a word associated with that problem so that when people think of me, if they search it or they look it up, I'm the person that they find.
I love that. Do you have a word?
Yeah. So with Talkadot, it's data, right? In
Yeah.
speaking, right? For my speaking, it's right now. It's actually interesting. I've been going back and forth with what it should be now, right? So right now, it's been perspective and building people power. So building
Mm.
people power is 3 words. So building people power is 3 words. So I've been trying to figure out, can I get it down to one so it's a little bit more clean and easy? And perspective is the one on how you build your people power, but it's a process that continually gets like massaged and it gets massaged and crafted. You can still speak without having it, but when you get down to that one word, it kind of becomes your own lane, and I think we as speakers are always trying to go down that lane.
I love that. Well, we see how that works tactically. Like if you look at um, politicians, for example, during campaigning and so forth, they're very good at getting
Yeah.
like the one word or the two word kind of repetitive sound bites.
And the more, because it's easy, because my belief, the reason why one word is easy is because it becomes easier for people to tell people what you do.
Yeah.
When we talk about Brene Brown, we say vulnerability. It's a very like, oh, what does she talk about? Oh, she's vulnerability. Oh, it's Tony Robbins, personal power, right? It's just the easy way to communicate to someone. Well, what does this person do? Oh, they do that. They build people power. Okay, like now I have a way of communicating what I do to other people. But when your answer is like a sentence long, it becomes harder for someone else to tell people about you. What does this person do? Oh, well, they're amazing. And it's really hard to explain what they do, but they're just absolutely incredible. It's like, oh, okay. Like it's harder to sell, because without going too deep into this, because this is a whole other can of worms, but
Yeah.
every decision maker, every time an organization books a speaker, there's a champion, meaning the person who is fighting for you to get booked, and there's typically a committee, a group of people that need to be convinced that the champion's person is the one that they should choose. So the easier it is for the champion to sell you, the easier it is for the committee to buy into you. So that's why things
Mm.
like the Talkadot profile, for example, is so important, because people can send it. But to be able to say, this person speaks on this and they solve this problem, here's their data and here's their evidence to show that they do it, I think they're the best fit. You'll find if you can actually make that happen, it's not easy, it's not straightforward, but you'll find you'll have less friction in getting to the yes. And again, as long as it solves an organizational problem. So there's all these like kind of filtration steps you've got to go through to really make that happen. So getting it down to 1, 2, 3 words is good. um, but simpler is better, is more of what's more important.
I love it. I have an example of that too. So last
Mhm.
winter, I was hired to speak at an event here in New York City, and I got to sit at the table with the people who planned the event
Mhm.
up there by the stage.
Mhm.
And one of the women leaned over to me and she said, "I love improv. I love it so much." And I used to take improv classes. So if she hadn't been a part of that event committee, she was my cheerleader.
Mhm.
She's the reason why I ended up, doing a workshop for that particular group. But, so that is important. It is important. And so my word for that particular event was improv. I'm the improv person.
And when someone can say, we need, we need something fun, we need something that's going to get people loose. We need someone who's like understands improv but understands understands like professionalism, because there's a lot of improv people who don't have the
Yeah,
most professional demeanor, right?
I would agree.
Respectfully.
Yeah,
So someone who knows how to make it not too waka waka, they're
yeah,
gonna go, okay, well, there we go. That's like
yeah.
Meredith, that's our person, right? Like, and so the more and more you can own something, right? And the more simpler it is for people to describe it. And again, I still need to stress test this because I'm sure someone will say, well, what about this person? And they'll say, well, there's always exceptions to the rules, but you'll
Right.
see over and over simplicity. Champion cheerleader is the person who gets you in, but the committee has to be convinced. So that process, the more you can think about how to make it easy for them to say yes, the more you will find that people say yes. And if you go, well, why don't people just know that it's good? It's like, well, because, a lot of not good people say they're good.
It's true. It's true. It's true. Beautiful. Well, RL, seeing as that we can't see me, which is fine. This has been great. You've been holding this space
Thank
beautifully.
you
Thank
for
you so
for
much,
allowing
my
me to be
friend.
here. Yeah.
Of course. You have given us so many wonderful nuggets. You've got your tool, Talkadot. I'm going to put it up here again so that if people didn't get an opportunity to scan this QR code, they can. So please scan this right here. RL's pointing to it.
I think I'm getting
Take
it.
the time,
I think I'm
pull
getting it.
out your phones if you need to. If you're sitting at your desk in front of your laptop or your screen, your desktop. If not, uh, please reach out to us. You can put it in the comments if you want. We'll reach out to you. I'm always reaching out to people. DM you if you need to. We did have a question that if can people watch this again? Yes, you can watch this again. You can find me on YouTube. I will be reposting it as well.
How
And
do
this,
people find you on YouTube to rewatch this?
oh my goodness, that's such a good question. I'm going to just put my email. Well, you can scan that QR code up in the upper left-hand corner, or I'm at Meredith Grundy Coaching, and you can find that's my YouTube channel. And so we are streaming live there as well right now. And so here we go one more time. Talkadot. This was awesome. RL, thank you. And we will see you again.
I hope so. Thank you so much for creating the space, and I just love all the wonderful graphics you got going on here. So
Do you like
sweet.
that?
So
Do you
sweet. I
feel like
do.
you're in a lounge?
I do. I feel like I'm in the speaker's lounge right
Oh,
now.
good. Well, you are. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, take care, y'all. We want to talk a lot.